You will read out the questions, or whoever has asked the question will ask the question again. That will make it
Sure.
a little more lively.
Yeah, we can. I'll
I'll
read
be
out
able
the.
to read the questions if you want, Ashwini from the list that we sent to Naratna ji.
Yeah, I think
Let us begin with a prayer.
sure. And then Aishwarya will be asking the questions
Coordinating.
initially, and then we can.
Others can.
Yeah.
Okay. Aishwarya will start with Sanavato. Hello, Aishwarya. Pranam.
Namaste, Naratna ji.
Go ahead, Aishwarya.
Let's sit in a comfortable position. Spine is nice and erect. Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karvavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Friends, I don't know whether I should really say sorry or apologize for changing the pattern of this class, if I may call it a class. The usual style is always to give a talk for 1 hour about the disease, which has been recorded several times. So I thought let us make it a little more interactive or more interesting by making you think and ask questions after you have heard the talk. And anyway, if it was going to be a difference between online and offline, there was no choice. But now it's all online, so online recorded video or non-recorded video will be the same almost. So we are trying this method now. If you people don't like it, we'll change the pattern. Next time I will talk more directly also, repeat the same thing. But Shwini told me you have all been sent more than one video. If it was going to be only one talk, it would have been one talk, but now we have more people talking and more concepts being presented already. I hope you have all heard the concept, you have all heard the understanding about diabetes, understanding about the need for stop diabetes movement, understanding about the concept of integrated approach, how lifestyle change is the most important factor in prevention, management, and handling the complication also in diabetes, which I hope all of you have read the video and seen the video. Now let us take up some questions. Aishwarya, would you like to start off?
Sure. The first question, I practice yoga and I have taken the reading for my sugar before about 30 minutes and after yoga, and invariably my sugar numbers fall by 30 to 40 points. However, A1C does not come down much. Does it take more time or there are any factors that contribute to this?
Who is the person who has asked this? Would you like to put on your video, please?
Kali Prasad ji, are you there? Yeah, I don't see him here, but this was his question. People also listen to the recordings, and this is for some people it is 9 a.m. in the morning, and some people are working, some people are it's too early, so there is all that problem. But this is a question by Kali Prasad ji.
Then should we take up a question for which the person is available online, or should I just answer and go ahead?
Please answer, Didi, because they are all going to listen to the recording.
Okay.
Yeah.
In fact, I would have liked to ask many more sub questions for this. That's why I was hoping to talk to the person, because it is his personal illness. If it's general thing, then it would have been fine.
I see.
But what we expect is exactly what he has already told in the question itself. definitely it is going to take a little longer time to be able to find changes in HbA1c. I don't know how long he has been doing yoga, what have been the changes, what is the actual blood sugar level before and after. He has only mentioned the degree of change, but what was the actual value before and after, what was HbA1c, all that I would have liked to know if he was available online. But my answer is yes, it will definitely show up on the HbA1c level also over a period of time. As all of you know, in general also, HbA1c is a average of the 3 months. That is the reason why it will reflect on all the mischief we have done over the whole week, over the 3 months regarding our lifestyle, exercise, diet, bad habits, sleep irregularities, all other problems will get reflected in the 3-month control. So minute to minute, day to day changes are recorded by fasting blood glucose and post-lunch blood sugar. So this is why we want the HbA1c to know the long-term control of the diabetic state, which will reflect the regularity and timely lifestyle change that we have implemented. As again, to take this one to generalize the answer, it is very clear that to maintain a long-term, regular, stable blood sugar levels is the goal, and therefore we have to work at all the 4 lifestyle factors: the diet, physical activity, freedom from irregular habits, and mental emotional tension. If all of them are taken care of, which is the goal of integrated approach of yoga therapy, only then we will be able to find a significant difference in A1C. Talking about research, yes, we have demonstrated as early as 1992, our first publication in UK, Royal Free Hospital study, where within 3 months we were able to demonstrate the difference in the A1C level. That was the highlight of that publication. Okay, next question, Aishwarya.
Yeah. Can diabetes completely go away with yoga or good practices, even though there are no signs of diabetes or the disease technically still present in the body?
So in this context, it's very important for all of you as yoga teachers or yoga professionals to know is diabetes is an asymptomatic disease. This word symptomatology has become very popular after COVID. Otherwise, earlier, if I use the word symptoms, people would not understand. Symptoms means what are all the difficulties that the person is experiencing in the form of pains, aches, tiredness, exhaustion, or whatever. Diabetes is an asymptomatic disease. Therefore, we do not go by symptoms in diabetes. So we cannot go by symptoms. Then what do we depend upon? We depend upon blood sugar levels. Blood sugar levels is the criterion. HbA1c is the criterion to know whether diabetes is under very good control or under remission. It's well known that diabetes does by nature itself goes into normal. The word is remission. Remission means blood sugar levels are maintained at a normal level without medication for a long period of time, and again it may come back. This is known in diabetes, but not very frequently because it's not very commonly seen. So what we are achieving through yoga based lifestyle change is a good remission maintained over a long period of time. We still cannot use the word cure, although we have stopped all medication, we have maintained very good weight, maintained good quality of life, all the parameters are normal, eye checkup, heart checkup, lung checkup, kidney checkup, everything is normal, even then we are not going to use the word cure, because if the lifestyle changes, it will come back again. So in that context, it is not a cure, it is getting into good remission, and therefore we use the word remission in diabetes. But there are people who say reversal of diabetes. Oh, you do intermittent fasting, you will get reverse the diabetes. That's not a very scientific statement. Reversal diabetes means even if you give, what is the test to know whether diabetes has been completely cured? The only test is the glucose tolerance test. In that, what we do is we take the person on a fasting state and record the blood glucose level, give him a glass of drink with 75 grams of glucose, and then go on recording the blood glucose levels every half an hour. And if the glucose tolerance test shows that it is well within the normal curve, then only we can use the word cure. But when we challenge a person who has had diabetes with this glucose, his curve will not be looking normal. Therefore, I don't want to use the word cure. But we are not worried about it. Cure is not, to declare that it has been cured is not our concern. To get into very good remission, very good blood glucose control is going to prevent him developing complications. He can live a normal life, he can have a good quality of life, he will be very friendly and carry on his life very healthy and happy. So that is our goal, good quality of life, healthy lifestyle with regular integrated approach of yoga therapy. If we can reach no medication state and get into good remission, that's fine for us. Okay,
Thank you,
Shreya.
Didi. Let's move on to the next question. So, do diabetes patients always take statins? Also, we heard that statins cause the sugar to go up, and they also give statins to diabetes patients. How come this contradictory medical protocol?
See, statins are specifically meant to reduce the bad cholesterol. As we know, what is the problem in diabetes? It's not only the blood glucose level, but we are worried because they are asymptomatic. You'll see large number of participants who will come and say, oh, my blood sugar is always 300, 350. I have no symptoms. I am a happy man. I am not bothered. I am trying many other methods. That's not acceptable because diabetes is an asymptomatic disease and it poses high risk for complications. So diabetes is one of the major uncontrolled diabetes is a major risk factor for cardiac disease. And similarly, it is one of the 5 risk factors. One of them is bad cholesterol. Another one is stress. Another one is smoking. Another one is obesity. So these are all risk factors. The word risk factor means each one of them has got a contributing factor to some extent. By itself, it may not be the cause. This is where we use the word risk factor. So to prevent the occurrence of complications in a diabetic who is very vulnerable for cardiac problems, we give them statins to keep the cholesterol under good control. But if the person's cholesterol level is normal with a good lifestyle, we don't need to give them statins. But medical science does not accept this. Now, as it is always the case in medical science, we discover a new drug which has been proven to be very useful. Only time will tell us how problems could occur, what complications could occur, what long-term negative effects could be there. Only time-tested drugs will be able to tell. Although it has gone through the regime of phase 1, 2, 3 trials, before a drug gets introduced into the market. It has gone through phase 3 trial, which is on patients, on people, they have tried it. But we would not have tried 10 years effect of the drug. Only people who have used for 10 years will be knowing the long-term negative effects. And this is what came out with atorvastatin. Atorvastatin came out to be not very good for the nervous system after 10 years of use. Therefore, they had to undo the negative effects and remove atorvastatin and replace it by rosuvastatin. So rosuvastatin is the other supposed to be the better statin to be used for people who have high cholesterol. If the bad cholesterol is under good control, they do not need any statin, either atorvastatin or rosuvastatin. Statins is not a must, but medical science has incorporated this. And in this webinar, I don't want to talk about the negative aspects of any system of medicine because we are integrative people.
Thank you, Didi.
Mhm.
So I just wanted to bring up one of the Stop Diabetes movement for which Dr. Nagratna ji were actually awarded by the Medical Society here. Would you actually be able to just tell us about a few words about the Stop Diabetes movement, please, in India?
We started our Stop Diabetes movement 10 years back with conducting diabetes camps. All of you know what is the need for Stop Diabetes movement because all over the world diabetes is on the increase. In spite of knowing lifestyle change is going to reduce the prevalence, in spite of knowing lifestyle change is going to help people to prevent new people from becoming diabetic. We know it education wise, media propaganda wise, research wise, but how to implement it? To implement it, we need to change the mindset of the people, behavior of the people. And for that also lots of money has been poured in. People have been, lots of parks have been renovated, walking paths have been renovated, gyms have been provided. WHO has spent a lot of time on propagating vegetarianism and physical activity. Some awareness has come, but in spite of it, new cases are on the increase. This is the reason why mind management becomes very important. This is where you as yoga professionals are the ones who are going to change the mindset of the people to come out of the laziness to do exercise, make a systematic, regular, timely lifestyle. Very, very important. This is what Patanjali talks about when he takes out as Nairantaryam, Abhyasa Vairagya, Abhyamta Nirodha, Abhyasa, Abhyasa, Abhyasa. What is Abhyasa? Timely, homemade, regular, freshly cooked food, timely physical activity, timely sleeping habits, timely intellectual activity, timely emotional activity, timely sport activity, timely spending time with our children. All this has to be very, very systematic and regular. Is the major thing in the lifestyle change. And to do that, yoga is the best way, is what you all have been understanding. Therefore, we started this movement 10 years back with a few camps here and there. We started with 2 hour awareness lectures in various parks and organizations and groups and industries, working places, etc., where we would go and request them to arrange a 2 hour awareness camp. We'll go and talk to them, explain to them, and tell them yoga is not just standing on your head. You have to do your mind management, etc., etc., and request them to arrange a class there. We would give a 10-day camp wherever they accepted. This way, we have collected a lot of data on hundreds of awareness camps. And this awareness camp arrangement also was a big challenge because people would not gather. So, but there are organizations who, particularly drug companies, who arrange free blood checkup camps in localities. So we would collaborate with them. You keep checking their blood. We will give us a mic. We will address all the people and arrange some lectures. So this way we solve that challenge. And then we started arranging 10-day camps based on this awareness camps. So if there were 100 awareness 2-hour lectures, then we may be able to arrange 10 camps. So 10 camps, 10 days, 2 hours per day, we started arranging. Then we wanted to go on for controlled camps. So in which in some area we don't conduct camps. In where we have not yet arranged the camp, we'll take the data there, compare with the areas where we have conducted camps, and we started getting data. And we applied for funding to the government. And that time, Arogya Bharati was very enthusiastic. They have got groups of people around the country in hundreds of places in the country. So we collaborated with them and arranged these 10-day camps by training the Arogya Bharati volunteers. So that we called as Madhumeha Mukta Bharata Abhiyan. This was 2014-15. That also gave us some data. Then also we had to go on to randomized control groups. Then we again approached the government. We had some fund left from the Madhumeha Mukta Bharata MMB project, and we have some money left. And then we asked some more money from the government. And based on that, we did a pakka proper randomization, taking the entire country's distribution, rural, urban, states, districts, etc. And we had an advisory committee. We circulated the protocol, involved a lot of statisticians, epidemiologists to design the study itself, so that we were able to pick up 4 rural clusters and 2 wards in a town cluster from each district in 65 districts of the country, depending on the number of districts in each state. And we had volunteers, 35 senior research fellows, 1,200 yoga teachers who were trained, were from that particular village area, that particular ward area, so that we can ensure the practice to be done. And within 1 year, we completed teaching this, taking the data on 2 lakh people, 2.5 lakhs people, and implementing the blood test and yoga practices in 50,000 people, and got the data which showed there was a significant improvement within 3 months. How our aim was to show that pre-diabetics should not get converted into diabetics. So to do that, we had to select pre-diabetics also in addition to diabetics. So diabetes group, another group, pre-diabetics one group, and so based on that we completed the study, and we now have almost 30 publications from that project, which was completed within 1 year around the country.
That's a massive scaled SDM project that was implemented in India, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. This thing.
Some
So,
more questions, Aishwarya?
yeah, I'm going to actually kind of relate relate to this project that you are talking about. So, where these projects were given in the Kriyas, like the cleansing ones, the Jalneti, Vamanadauti, did these have any effects on the diabetes patients?
No, in this nationwide camp, we didn't introduce Kriyas. We only introduced Kapalbhati Kriya because it was such a vast, we shouldn't be risking all that. So 10 days, 2 hours per day, they had to come to the place. wherever we conducted the camp. And then once a week, our teacher would go to that same place, call them black villages, remote places, which was selected for by the statistician. We had very, very fascinating experiences of going to seeing the remote parts of the country. In fact, for the first time, I came to know all the names of all the states in the country for that matter, and many, many villages and towns. So in such a situation, this is called as community-based study, in which we are not going to implement kriyas. When they are coming to you as a therapist, as a teacher, we may introduce kriyas because they are being supervised individually. When it is a group program, we are not going to be monitoring them so strictly. So we don't want to take the risk of introducing. And the protocol which had to be validated by the experts also did not recommend this kriya. Okay.
So then the
Did I
question
answer your
becomes like,
question?
yeah. So the question now becomes like, do they help?
Very
if
much.
we do,
Yeah, definitely, they are very, very important. In the regular protocol of diabetes, we do have the kriya as a important practice in the protocol, but in this STM moment, we are not teaching that because we are not going to monitor it so strictly on an individual basis.
Okay. Just to change it up, do any of you guys want to go ahead and ask some questions to Didi instead of me asking all the questions?
I do.
Have you completed all the questions that were already sent?
Just a few more. There might be kind of like probably some of the people, they might ask the same questions. That's why I just opened it up.
Okay, okay.
Namaste, doctor. My question is, if it was Kapalabhati that you introduced, so then we had to take care of the people who had hypertension also at that time, right? In 2 lakhs.
Exactly.
How would you? I mean, how would they consider that? So, I mean,
See, one very, very important point you have raised. What's your name?
Sindhu.
Sindhu. Yeah, as yoga teachers, if you have multiple problems, take the particular, your concept is integrated approach of yoga therapy, in which our goal is to take the mind to the level of MMM, mastery over the modifications of the mind. So to reach MMM, you may reach through diabetes protocol or hypertension protocol or thyroid protocol or obesity protocol or even arthritis protocol. If you have reached there, you have removed the root cause of the problem. So all the branches drop off. So please be very, very clear about this. So if you have 4 diseases, which one are you going to select? You are going to select the least harmful set of practices for the whole group. So instead of teaching diabetes yoga protocol, you are going to select the hypertension yoga protocol, which will also help the diabetes. So have I made it clear? So whichever is the, say if somebody comes to you with many arthritis, lot of joint pain, you can't do Ardha Matsyendrasana, you can't do Vakrasana, you can't do this, you can't do this, then what am I left with? You start with arthritis protocol. So all paths lead to the same goal. Have I seen that my participant has developed mastery over his emotions? Has he regularized his lifestyle? This practice doesn't matter. This is the concept of integrated approach of yoga therapy.
Namaskar, Didi.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I have one quick question. Sugar and sweets are the main cause for the diabetes, and there are many natural sugar replacements available with 0 calorie. One of them is monk fruit sugar extract. So are they safe and can they avoid diabetes? And I heard that many of the physicians also suggest for the sugar replacement. So what is your opinion and suggestion?
My opinion is Definitely, instead of taking plain sugar or jaggery or fruit sugar, it may be better as far as the effect on the blood sugar level is concerned. But in the long run, we don't know its effect. There were studies on it, some of the replacement things which became carcinogenic after years of studies. But as a yoga teacher, what is important for you to train them is to get mastery over that craving for sweetness on the tongue. You are going to talk to them about the happiness analysis, where you say, okay, you put your sweet on the tongue, aha, experience. What happened to your mind? Mind became quiet. Hang on to that quietude. Then you neither will need sugar, fruit sugar, or the replacement sugars or any other sugar. You will only enjoy a small bit of your sugar and get into that silence. That's not going to harm your thing. Big problem is the craving. So you are going to teach them the mastery over the craving for that sweet taste in one side. And similarly, our emotional surges. All are different parts of the monkey mind. Only craving is one such.
Thank you. Thank you, Didi.
I'm going to actually read out a couple of, I'm going to just combine a few questions, Didi, here. So this is like, how does the diabetes affect a couple of other things, basically? How diabetes affects a person's memory? That is one. And how does the vision problems, how do you know the difference between general old age vision problems versus diabetic vision problems? That is two.
And let us
And
take one at a time.
okay,
Aishwarya.
sounds good. Okay, go
Yeah,
ahead.
there is enough data to show that the complications of diabetes are all related to mainly the vascular changes, microvascular and macrovascular changes, which blocks up the arteries. Because the artery is getting blocked, then blood flow to the brain will reduce very early in the stage. In fact, atherosclerotic changes, if I may use the word, atherosclerotic means hardening of the arteries, which goes on to become narrowed arteries. And this happens in small vessels called microvascular narrowing, which reduces the blood flow to the brain. And because the blood flow to the brain reduces, obviously, it causes the functionality of the brain cells also to reduce. Therefore, cognitive impairment is well known even in early diabetics, which may not be very strongly recognized, which may become worsened later. This is as far as the microvascular changes are concerned. Coming to the eyes, there are very specific changes that happen in the bigger blood vessels in the eyes also, which are very, very dangerous. These are called macrovascular changes in the eyes, which can be detected by retinal examination. You go to the ophthalmologist or any diabetologist has an ophthalmoscope, they will look into your eye and they will be able to see the changes in the arteries, and these are very clearly visible and made out. We should not wait for symptoms. Have you got decreased field of vision? Have you got blurred vision? Have you got sudden loss of vision? These are not the things to be waited for. We have to have a routine eye checkup in anybody who has had diabetes for more than 5 years. But eye checkup, kidney checkup, and heart checkup is a must as a routine annual checkup, along with their A1C and blood sugar levels and lipid profile and weight management, waist circumference, etc., are all to be measured routinely once a year to prevent such problems from coming up. As a non-medical person, you will not be able to differentiate the visual problems caused by due to diabetes or caused due to other causes. That's not your area of expertise. It has to be done by the eye experts.
Thank you. Thank you, Nagaratnaji. I'm going to call out Mr. Arun Narayanan. If you have any questions, please go ahead and ask.
I have a few questions. Namaskaram, Nagaratnaji and others.
Namaskara.
I loved your video. It was very, very fascinating. I wish it was longer. My questions are, I'll ask, I think 2 or 3 questions, if the time permits.
Yeah, please go ahead. Please go
I'll
ahead.
ask one by one.
Mhm.
The number game, right? I was diagnosed with recently with diabetes 1.5 months ago, and in US, maybe considering multi symptoms, I had 6.5 A1C. They already prescribed metformin for me, and since I was already doing some yoga, I started doing yoga. But when talking to relatives and doctors in India, for them 6.5 doesn't seem to be alarming. So even within the medical community, US versus India, the number game seems to be different. So do you have an opinion on it?
No, see, the teaching in medical science is, if you see somebody with a borderline diabetes, which is the 6.5 starting point, you are supposed to advise complete lifestyle change with weight management, stress management, regular diet, etc. for 3 to 6 months before you prescribe anything. And generally people, once they change their lifestyle, they will be able to bring down their HbA1c also. But what is happening today is, again, I don't want to push this drug lobby, which is showing, which they want to demonstrate that if you start medication early, you can prevent complications. Is a trump card on which they start off. And people have hardly time to advise on lifestyle, monitor lifestyle, and give lifestyle advices. So in your case, because you already had a good lifestyle, you will have to look into yourself and see what aspect of your lifestyle could be further managed, further changed to reduce the need for metformin.
Okay.
Even in India, we do, the doctors generally prescribe once diabetes, metformin is prescribed as a routine. In fact, metformin trials have been done for even pre-diabetics. If you are pre-diabetic, they are prescribed metformin.
Okay. So 2 more questions. Again, within the medical community, I'm not a doctor by any, I'm just a normal person. So, but once I get diagnosed, we all search for different articles and videos and everything. So ignoring the normal people who are not doctors, when I watch videos and articles between the same medical community, one doctor says eating papaya is good, another person says don't eat papaya. So to me, I don't know, it's 2 well qualified people, right? One person is saying eat papaya, the other person says don't eat papaya, one person says don't eat mango, other person says mango is good. And so how do I take that? I mean, they are qualified doctors, they are not a normal average person like me. So I need to look at experts and their opinion, right? So how do I take those?
What have you been doing?
I take in moderation. I'll take
Yes, yes.
maybe one small size and be happy with it.
That is the answer.
Okay, thank you.
Moderation, moderation, moderation. Yuktahara, samatva. Say medical science discovers something and people tend to do extremes of that. Say for example, millets. Millets became very popular and they changed their entire food pattern. Persons have been eating the same food for until 55 years or 60 years of their life. And somebody produced a research paper that millets has got good amount of fiber and micronutrients, stopped all rava, all wheat, all rice, and shifted totally to millets. This is the extreme thing that we do in medical science. People became vegans, stopped taking milk and milk products 100%. Your body is not going to adjust so rapidly to anything like that. So just because something has been discovered, use it in a yuktahara way, in a moderation.
Okay. The last question, it kind of goes in tandem with my previous question. Let's say I'm not going to, I'll attempt all those 4 things that you talked about: diet, lifestyle changes, emotional balance, and the regular timings. And let's say I'm traveling this journey, but there are special occasions like we have birthdays, so many festivals where there might be, we might have to break probably these all the 3 or all the 4 of this. So for example, the feast is would be a better example. In those cases, how do you view, or what is your opinion? Can we indulge in?
If you are really going for a party, have your vegetable food at home and then go and just taste all the other items, small
Okay.
quantities. Don't
Thank
go
you.
very hungry to the party. This is the first rule. Party meal will be around 9:30, 10 p.m. So at 7:30 you have your usual raw vegetable or fruit salad, or you have your full vegetable item, and then go for the party and then taste everything small quantities. In fact, I keep telling people, if you have really indulged in a very heavy meal, come home and do Vamanadavati and sleep off.
Come and do what? Sorry?
Vamanadavati.
Oh, Vamanadavati.
Which is not recommended normally.
Okay. Thank you for answering my questions.
Thank you, Aranji, and thanks, Nagaratji, for answering those questions. I'm going to actually ask Riddhi to go ahead and ask their question.
Namaste, Nagratnaji.
Hello, Riddhi.
Hi. So my question is, I know everybody that has diabetes or any of the diseases, it's because of the lifestyle, but there are kids that are born with the, abnormalities and diseases. So why would the kid?
No, so your understanding is, yeah, I got your, maybe I should let you complete the questions, complete the sentence.
Yeah, just, little kids are born with it. So I don't know why.
Okay. So what is your understanding of lifestyle diseases? We are all born with a genetic tendency. It is there in our genes, much more so diabetes in the genes of South Asian race. So we do have that gene which is made to express through wrong lifestyle. So you can now see that the genetic tendency is much stronger. It will show up right at the birth, right at the beginning itself. So degree of gene abnormality decides how much lifestyle disturbance you need to make it express. So some children, they may be born with that because they are already born with a big degree of genetic abnormality.
So what about if there is no parents that...
Or mutation. Sorry?
What if the parents don't have anything in the...
We call it as genetic mutation, no?
Mutation. Okay.
Mm.
Thank you.
So I think there is a
popular.
relative question here. If the mother has a gestational diabetes, does the baby will also get diabetes? That's one of the questions related to that.
The chances are definitely going to be higher. In fact, if the mother is obese, if the mother has stress, the chances that the fetus programming itself changes. Not only gestational diabetes, just a wrong lifestyle, stressed lifestyle of the mother changes the program, genetic program of the fetus when the program is being formed. So the baby is already born with a template to become more vulnerable for diabetes, more vulnerable for obesity, more vulnerable for stress responses. So this is where it is very important to incorporate stress management programs in pregnant women, and stop obesity and diabetes in pregnant women.
Thank you, Didi. And I'll ask Ashwati to go ahead and ask her question.
Namaste, Nagaratna ji. I wanted to ask about the vascular complications. Are they reversible when people realize they're pre-diabetic, or at any point is that possible?
Early stages, yes. But if it's too advanced, it may not be reversible, but still they can definitely be managed better if they change their lifestyle and work on their mind. Yoga can help them. There are many publications on yoga in neuropathy, yoga in retinopathy, yoga for nephropathy, yoga for cardiac problems. We have had a very big survey, very good study of 10th year follow-up on people with coronary artery disease, where they have had to undergo bypass surgery, and after bypass surgery also the process will be continuing. If you see, as coming on to this question, bypass surgery is not done anything for the original disease process, is it not? The disease process was blockage of the artery. We did the bypass of the blocked artery. But what caused the problem was not tackled. So when we introduced yoga, we are now going to publish this 10th year follow-up, where we have shown that the mortality is much less in the yoga group, morbidity was much less in the yoga group, repetition of a heart attack was much less in the yoga group, number of hospital visits were much less in the yoga group, which is a big study which we are going to publish. So definitely, I again do not want to use the word reversal here. Prevention of progression of the disease is possible by proper yogic lifestyle.
Thank you.
Amazing. 10-year follow-up study. Love that.
All right, next question. Diabetes are prone to amputation if they neglect the wound. Is that because of advanced neuropathy?
Both neuropathy and direct vascular blockages. Direct vascular blockages make macrovascular disease, can directly block the blood vessels, cause gangrene, which causes amputation. And neuropathy also can cause gangrene and problems because of the nerve damage, which is microvascular neuropathy. Both are vascular damage. This is microvascular. Neuropathy is microvascular and direct gangrene is macrovascular. Does that mean anything to you?
Yeah.
Do you want a more explanation on that?
Yeah, typically
macrovascular means big vessels getting blocked directly, which causes blockage of blood vessel to the part of the foot, so that the foot starts dying out straight away. Microvascular means fine arteries which supply the blood to the nerves, which are taking the information from the feet are being affected, and that can lead to some injury. If the sensation goes, then they will get an infection, and that infection will spread and create problems. In fact, it's a very important question, Aishwarya. And before I go on to what I wanted to say, one of the other important causes for this is uncontrolled diabetes. Directly uncontrolled diabetes makes the foot become very vulnerable for infections, and small injury can become a big wound with infection which can spread. So the root cause need not be even microvascular or macrovascular, but it can be just the high blood sugar. Germs love sugar just like our children love sugar. So germs multiply so fast it can spread and create a lot of problems. Okay. So in this context, one of the biggest, commonest, and the major causes for amputation is still diabetes in the whole world. It's not only the accidents. Accidents are one of the causes for amputation, but diabetes is top on the list. And it's a terrible suffering. So it's very, very important to prevent complications.
Yeah. So majority of the people who are smoking are vulnerable for the amputation. That's what I have seen.
Exactly. It's still second or third in the line. Smoking causes what we call as TAO, thromboangiitis and obliterans, where the nicotine gets deposited in the lining of the artery gets inflamed, blocks up, and therefore they end up with lack of blood flow to the parts of the leg, and they can end up with amputation, but that is third or fourth in the line.
Yeah, that was Sidhuji's question, and thank you, Sidhuji, for clarifying some of them. All right, Reema, go ahead and ask your question.
Namaste, Didi.
Hello,
I
Reema.
have question is precisely what food you should eat, like moving from tamasic to sattvic or rajasic to sattvic.
What do you think? Very obvious.
More vegetables, like all the fruits and grains.
Yeah, from tamas to rajas to sattva, which is better? Sattvic food is better, rajasic food is better, or tamasic food is better is your question, no? Which is good for us.
No, moving like the sattvic food is better. So if you're moving from
Obviously. So what is sattvic food? Simple, wholesome, vegetarian, freshly cooked, timely meal with moderate amount of spices, all items of the food in moderate quantities. If they are diabetic, with the following the rules of diabetes diet, where we reduce the carbohydrate and increase the protein, fluid, and fiber. If they are obese, much more reduction in carbohydrate and zero fat, and increase the fiber. So general rule is VVV formula. What is VVV formula? 80% vegetables in breakfast, 80% vegetable in lunch, 80% vegetable in dinner. This is the first rule. But if you see a very underweight diabetic, you are not going to do that. You are going to permit them to take more protein and little more fat and less of fiber. So this we keep adjusting depending upon the modern nutrition diabetes recommendation. But in that, what yoga talks about is the effect of food on the mind. So medical science does not talk about, in fact, if as a dietitian or a nutritionist advising for diabetes, if I want to prepare a diet sheet for a diabetes, they will first ask, how often do you use non-veg? How often do you use vegetables? Please give me your pattern of diet. And in that we make arrangements. They won't totally ask you to stop non-veg. Whereas, what is yoga telling us? Yoga is telling us the effect of food on the mind. So it should be vegetarian to make it sattvic diet. What is the difference between sattvic diet, rajasic diet, and tamasic diet? Sattvic diets makes you drowsy and dull and lazy and burst out when there is an opportunity. So then rajasic food makes you get stressed out, emotionally charged, emotionally activated. And sattvic food makes you sober and controlled and stable person. You can use emotions as and when required. Welcome anger, bye-bye anger. Welcome fear, bye-bye fear. Welcome tension, bye-bye tension. This is possible in Sattvic diet people and Sattvic personalities who do yoga. So which is better for humanity in the present day world? Obviously, the mind which is sober and balanced. So therefore we say simple, wholesome vegetarian diet with moderate spices, moderation in all quantities, following the rules of modern calorie requirement as per the weight of the person, BMI of the person.
Okay, thank you. The another question I has is like it comes up or someone asks if we are in a therapy session on one-on-one and says that uh, person could be a rajasic, mostly rajasic person and eating rajasic food when the person is stressed out, and ask what do I do? I mean, how do I stop from stress eating?
How do I stop from
Stress eating, like a
Stress,
binging?
stress eating. Huh?
eating.
Keep fruits, vegetables, and uh, fruit juices, lemon juice around you, and don't have any namkeen around you. You can go on binging, but always keep fruits, raw vegetables, or sprouts around you, and keep having lemon water around you. You can go on sipping lemon water with a little honey, or keep eating some hurgalo with little bit of spices, with sprouts, fried sprouts, or fruits around you, so that you can go on eating that, but definitely don't have any namkeen stock in your dabbas.
Okay,
But these are all periods, short periods, when they may have to have something to spend your attention energy in the form of munching. But this is not a regular phenomenon, no. See, the biggest problem we see in corporate world is their irregular timings of sleeping, irregular timings of eating, and the need to travel. When you travel out, availability of the right type of food. These are the things for which you will have to use their own mind to see how they are going to maintain their regularity.
Thank you, Navaratnaji. So I have one question personally. So I have seen that this has been a constant question, even I think from the diabetes people with diabetes. So it's like, okay, let's say obesity is part, right? Like obesity causes diabetes versus you have obesity nevertheless. So obesity causes diabetes, and then let's say if you're a diabetic and the default prescription here in the US, I think, is a little bit of insulin because it has no other side effects if metformin is not for you or something of that sort. And let's say you take insulin, but then it adds to your weight. So it's a kind of like a vicious circle, right? So how do you handle that?
Now,
Like,
insulin is, in fact, there are recent studies which do this from what you said. They have demonstrated that pre-diabetics already have got insulin deficiency. Therefore, you should introduce insulin right from the diagnosis. Some people are talking about it. That's not the best. Therefore, as it stands today in regular practice, insulin is the last one. Start with metformin and then add the others, and go on to insulin. If none of these permutation combinations are working, add insulin at that stage, or add insulin or replace by insulin if complications have already set in to a great extent. This is the present day practice, but there are high level diabetologists who do lot of research and say introducing insulin right from day one can prevent all complications over long run, which is not stood the test of time. Answer will come only after another 20 years. But what you said is very, very important. If they are obese, they have not been under control with all the drugs, then we are forced to introduce insulin, and they tend to increase the appetite and their craving, and therefore they tend to put on weight. In fact, insulin used in anorexia nervosa to improve their appetite and make them put on weight. This is the point where we should work on helping them to change their lifestyle. There is no choice than introducing insulin if there is no other alternative therapies that they are able to adapt. That is why the medical science has no choice than to add on insulin to keep the blood sugar under control. This is where you come in as a very important add-on therapist to help them.
So you're saying is metformin basically it's not about if there is a point where the doctors are actually preferring to go by the insulin way, metformin
Why
you're saying
go by
can
the insulin way? Why will they go by the
say that again?
insulin way? Why will they go on by the
If the
insulin
metformin
in
is
the
not working,
beginning?
right? If the metformin is not working.
You come in as an alternative therapist and help them to reduce their weight. Then they will not prescribe insulin.
Oh, I see.
See,
Got
if
it.
the doctors have no choice, you have no choice. But patient's mindset change is the basic thing which you are all going to introduce and help them to reduce their weight seriously. Do
Okay.
physical activity and all these 4 things.
Again, lifestyle change, thus leading
Weight
into
reduction through lifestyle change through IAYT is the method to prevent them to go on to insulin.
okay. So once if they are on insulin, we can always actually
Also,
still
yeah,
do the
definitely.
IAYT.
Exactly.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you, Devi. Ashwini ji.
Yeah, I think I have one question regarding intermittent fasting, and there is also ketogenic diet where they eat more fat and pretty much cut down carbohydrates to almost zero, and they go eat fish and white meat and various such things. In fact, I have met 2 of those, one of them on ketogenic diet and the other on intermittent fasting, completely got rid of metformin. So how do you explain this?
Yeah, out of the 4, he has worked intensively on the first, which is helping, and definitely it is going to help. But you as a yoga practitioner is not going to recommend all this non-vegetarian diet, etc. See, what is happening in that country is we eat not less than 10 times something goes into the stomach. Starting with the bread, tea in the morning, breakfast, then mid-morning something to munch or have a tea or a coffee, then lunch, then evening snacks, and night dinner, bedtime biscuits and milk. So ಯುಕ್ತ ಒಪ್ಪತ್ತುಂಡವ ಯೋಗಿ, ಎರಡತ್ತುಂಡವ ರೋಗಿ, ಮೂರತ್ತುಂಡವ ರೋಗಿ, ನಾಲ್ಕತ್ತುಂಡವ ಹೊತ್ತುಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗಿ. This very everybody knows. 2 meals a day is always better than 3 meals a day. 1 meal is even better. But what did you do, Ashwini? You shifted from 3 meals to 2 meals, and look at the way what happened to you. So it is all to be done in a very controlled way, and help yourself not to just push the system to adapt too fast to any change. And when the mind is so aggressive, mind is not under control, mind is emotionally charged or sensitive or over-focused, as in your case, it's not helpful to make such drastic changes to the physical changes is what people have to realize.
Thank you, Didi. Very helpful. Yeah, Anil has a question.
Adaptability to be encouraged very gradually and slowly is the simple principle in everything.
So Didi, this
Anil ji, we are
Anil.
not
Yeah.
Anil,
So,
yeah.
Namaste, Didi. So I have 2 questions, quick one. First one is the statin. If somebody start taking metformin or any other statin, and once
No,
the
metformin is not a statin.
Oh, okay. Sorry. So if they start some medication and if things are under control, they can always stop if they make lifestyle change, and if they can control
Definitely.
it, then they can stop
Definitely.
taking the medicine, right? Yeah. Okay.
Definitely. Reduce it gradually.
Yeah. Okay. My second question is, you mentioned about A1C number. It is a 3 months average. And if anything lifestyle change in 3 months, which trigger the A1C number higher. So is it, suppose if somebody goes and binge in the party for a day or maybe 1 week,
No,
they stop there,
that will
and does
not,
it affect
that will
A1C?
not, no.
Uh-huh.
No, that will not show up as a A1C level. If
But
it's
then
once in 3 months, in 3 months he has had a binge and made up for it the next day by being little more careful, then it will not show up in the A1C level.
Then what is the average of 3 months, the blood sugar level there?
Average over a period of time he is doing wrong lifestyle, then it will change the HbA1c. One day is not going to
Okay.
help. It's not going to make.
Okay. It's a 3 months lifestyle change. Yeah.
Let me make you understand what is A1C. A1C is the red blood cells. When it is being born, the amount of glucose that is there in the blood is incorporated in the red blood cell in the hemoglobin. So your red blood cell is already formed with its hemoglobin, which is containing the glucose in that hemoglobin also. So this hemoglobin which is formed today is incorporating the blood glucose today, tomorrow for 3 months. And this red blood cell is going to live for 3 months. Tomorrow's another 3 months. So the lifespan of a red blood cell is 3 months. So if you have been continuously adding wrong red blood cells, then A1C will be high. One day suddenly you introduce a new red blood cell which is being formed on that day in which you binged. It will be made up for all the other 89 days in which you did not binge. Those red blood cells will not be high in their A1C level. So it will not show up as a high A1C.
Okay, understood. Thank you, Didi.
Time is up. So Sidhu, we did not understand your question, but
Okay.
will IAVIT help for just the diabetes symptoms or any other like?
No, my question was, along with diabetes, what are the common the diseases or the issues people are not aware, but as a therapist, through the integrated yoga therapy, we should proactively try to understand. And I do understand it differs from person to person, but at least be aware of and try to analyze.
You're asking for the friends of diabetes.
Yes.
Friends of diabetes are high cholesterol, obesity, thyroid, PCOD, polycystic ovarian syndrome in women, infertility, and the complications related to hypertension, heart disease. These are all called as metabolic syndrome. So these are all the friends which are all related to the basic problem which started at the fat cell, obesity, which started with lifestyle. Lifestyle started because of my mind, because of my craving, because of my avidya. So this is the whole chain of events.
Okay. Thank you, Didi.
All NCDs. Even cancer is much more prevalent in diabetes. Somebody had asked a question about relationship between diabetes and COVID. Aishwarya, I think you missed that question. Yes, the answer is very, very clearly diabetics are much more prone for COVID.
Yeah, thank you so much, Nagratna ji, for all the questions. Ashwini ji, would you like to say a few words?
Go ahead. Go ahead, Ashwini.
Yeah, it's been, I believe, considering the fact that we have listened to your, as you said, like your diabetes talk is like, we can actually read it over and over again, but coming at a different solution kind of a thingy, this really helped. The discussions and the talks and really, really, really helpful. And it answered most of the questions, like, even if it is like, something that a yoga teacher knows or doesn't know, doesn't really matter, and it was very, very important information. And thank you so much for giving it to us, Nagratna ji.
Yeah, dear friends, as a sum up, I would like to say that the whole thing is mind is the master. If you can change the mindset of people, you have changed the whole of the problem of NCDs. And how you are going to incorporate that is the wonder of how our sages found these techniques, which you can all use and see that we all work towards better human race. Thank you all. Namaskara.
Didi, thank you very much. Very, very nice session. Thank you.
Thanks, Didi. Bye.
Let's end with a Shanti mantra. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramayah Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukkhabhat Bhave. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Namaste.
Thank you. Namaskara.
Thank you. Thank you, Didi.
Ashwini.